Hi, I'm Tammy Fontana with your Mental Health Spa Day. I'm talking again about another aspect of anxiety and under the category of bad feelings. And one of the things that a lot of people who don't even recognize that they're anxious, maybe they're being told that they're very controlling, they're very rigid. Often what's under this is anxiety. And I have a lot of my engineers, my more concrete thinkers, my accountants, often being accused of like lacking empathy or not knowing how to listen and having relationship difficulties. So I wanted to explain an aspect of how our feelings work that a lot of times people aren't aware of, and why again it's so important to be aware of your bad feelings. So what happens for a lot of people who don't have a good relationship with their bad feelings is they're not aware of how they're feeling. And say if you're somebody who says you're very logical, you're often saying you're logical, meaning factual. But in fact, logical people are actually quite emotional. They just use logic to suppress or dismiss their feelings. They'll create a story or tell themselves something. And they'll really convince themselves that, nothing bothers them. They're very easygoing or something. But what happens is they're often in relationships with more emotionally expressive people, and their partner's feelings often creates emotional difficulties for them, because these are people who don't have a sense of comfort with big feelings, other people's big feelings, their own big feelings. And big feelings is a very subjective term, but generally with people, if they have an intensity with which they express their feelings, whether those are positive feelings, negative feelings or anxious feelings or whatever, they don't really like it. And so they're often trying to tell a story or give a solution to the person, which is often their partner. They're trying to give them solutions to show them, here's all the reasons why you don't need to feel what you're feeling. And why is that? Well, what's usually going on, and of course there's always exceptions and I have to work with couples, but usually what's going on is, let's call him the engineering type person who's always coming up with solutions for everybody's bad feelings. What they're not aware of is, if I'm in a relationship with you and I love and care about you, and I'm hearing that you're in distress, your distress, because I'm not aware that I lack an emotional boundary, your distress somehow becomes my distress. And I'm now taking on your negative feelings, whether those are your negative feelings at work, with your boss, with your parents, with the kids, with friends, your body, whatever. Your distress at this kind of comes into me. But the problem is I'm not aware of that. So I am now starting to feel uncomfortable and bad in reaction to listening to you and seeing that you're distressed. And because I'm not aware that this bad feeling I'm feeling isn't mine, all I know is it's sitting in me now, and I want it gone. And I know that you're the source of it. And all this is sort of happening out of my awareness. I'm doing this in sort of a theatrical way to demonstrate it. Is now that I'm being inflicted with your feeling that is coming on me, and I don't like how this is making me feel, and I want to get away from it. And I know that it's coming from you. I'm not aware that secretly it's actually coming from me. I start wanting to give you solutions to fix your problem so that I can feel better. But this is all outside of my awareness. So what's happening real time is that person's talking, I'm listening to them have all these problems at work. Their intensity, their bad feelings are coming in me. I don't like the way this feels. I want to get away with it. So I start immediately doing logic. I start getting logical solutions. I start telling the person, well, here's all the reasons why you shouldn't feel what you feel. Here's all the things you could do to get out of this feeling. And as a result, the person that I'm giving all these solutions to, if depending on how long we've been in a relationship, they'll start to feel dismissed, they'll feel judged, they'll feel angry, they'll feel upset. And me, the solution giver, will be confused at this. Like, why are you unhappy when I'm trying to solve your problems? I'm trying to help you get away from those bad feelings. There's no reason to it. And what you're not aware of is, one, that makes the other person feel dismissed, unheard. They often don't need their feelings. They'll be telling you, I just wish you could validate my feelings. And for you, the recipient who has a negative association with feelings can't understand the value in that. Why would I want to validate your bad feelings? Just get rid of those things. They're making you feel bad, and then they're making me feel bad, and there's no purpose into it. Logic, logic, logic. So what happens is people who do this with the best intentions don't have a good relationship. They're not understanding that actually that bad feeling you're feeling is you taking on somebody else's bad feeling. It's not actually yours. You're having a secondary feeling in reaction to their feeling, and you're lacking an emotional boundary. And again, this is complicated stuff because we have behavioral boundaries, we have physical boundaries, and then the tricky one is the emotional boundary, understanding, oh, those feelings and your problems are yours, they're not mine. I don't need to jump in there with you. I need to keep myself outside and maybe just put a toe in there and not take on your feelings. And this is often what happens with people who lack emotional boundaries and have a negative relationship. They take on the other person's feelings. They're not aware they're doing this. They now feel bad. They imagine the other person's feeling as bad as they're feeling, and they think, we got to get out of here. We got to get rid of this feeling and get it gone. And they'll start giving solutions, which often ends very badly. So if this sounds familiar to you or a partner, one of the things we have to do is it's called increasing our self-awareness, changing our relationship to our feelings. And these are things that I help people do, and I'll be talking about this in the paid for part. But if this is happening, what you want to be aware of is just start to be aware that, hey, maybe I'm not feeling this negative feeling I'm feeling. Maybe it's not mine. Maybe it's my reaction to hearing the person I love. And I don't need to solve it. And maybe all I need to do is listen to that person and really see that that's their issue, their problem, their feelings, and see if I can keep myself out of it and just identify how they're feeling, validate how they're feeling, and not solve it, because you can't. And sometimes people want to feel bad. Sometimes they need their feelings validated, and they need to be sad or angry for a little bit to work things out. And a lot of times they just want somebody validating and sharing it. They don't need anybody to solve it. Thanks.